Yes. If the DUS were to reschedule this debate with the same speakers, what would NUS's reaction be? Don't you think it'd be a good idea just to keep still about it?
Yeah, right at the back.
Do you think if we'd invited Ibrahim Masawi and Annem Shari, when we'd have the same abusive response to the latter?
And then yeah.
On the issue.
Oh no, sorry, no, I meant. Sorry.
If you recall, a couple of weeks ago we had dinner, and when we were having dinner, But anyway, when we were having dinner, we were talking about the last referendum we had, and I said I voted against it. And you asked me why, and I said because I'd looked at the £18,000 that it cost, the amount of money that we were saving on the bars and the legal advice we were getting. I looked at other alternatives, worked out that it wasn't cost effective, so I didn't think we should do it. And do you know what you said? You said, yes, I guess if you look at it in financial terms, you don't get that good a deal. Up by saying, but we do campaign on important political issues which are important to students. And I'd ask how many of the people in the room agree with the political issue that we are here about today and they're campaigning on. Thank you.
Right, on that last one, I feel like we're slightly misrepresented. Look, the point I made was, if you want to view NUS membership as purely a financial transaction, in terms of if we pay this much in affiliation fees, how much do we get back in the beer deal? For some students' unions, it's a pretty good proposition, and they profit from NUS. As a result of commercial trends up and down the country, those unions are shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, because bizarrely students are spending less money behind the bar in their unions up and down the country. But there you go. So the point I was making is, if you want to view it purely in reductive financial terms as a financial transaction in that sense, then no, joining NUS does not turn a profit. But surely that's not, when I join things as a member or to be part of something, I don't necessarily expect money back in my pocket. I'm paying for something. In this case with NUS, it's paying for representation nationally and a national voice, which may have caused some controversy on this occasion. But when you just kind of think, one of the interesting things, and I was talking about with Richard on the way up here earlier. Last time I was here, I talked about again how the arguments for NUS had changed during my time as an officer, and originally it was only about the beer deal, and I was able to rattle off a whole load of stuff which, yes, saved JCR's time and money in terms of Charities Act and the registration and legal kind of stuff. But I also talked about campaigns that we'd won and things that have made difference to students. And even when I thought about, if there's going to be another referendum in the next couple of weeks, we'll be rattling off that list again. But only last week, there's even more stuff. So last week, the government announced an extension to the tenancy deposit scheme, which gives students greater protection and gets their money back to them quicker, which really is something that hits your pocket as a student. It's something NUS fought for and NUS won. And students' unions acting alone could try and achieve these things, but it's our collective national voice and coming together and pooling resources that makes us much more effective when we are up against governments, particularly in these financial times, which are going to make it harder for students, not easier. And so if NUS gets its policies right, if it's rooted in its membership right, and if we fight on the right issues like we're going to do with fees in the general election, then I believe there is an overwhelming case for NUS membership. But obviously, on days like this, where there has been a monumental cock-up, you turn up and you sort of say, this fantastic political representation you get on a national basis really serves you well, and you kind of sit there thinking, well, I'm here because I really disagree with a political decision. But that's kind of part of what being a membership organisation is about. I know that some people are bringing a debate inside DSU about no platform policy, for example. I dare say there are students at Durham who will be persuaded by the no platform policy and want it. I dare say, I know they exist because they're in my inbox and they're in the room. Lots of people who will oppose such a policy, and that's kind of what membership organisations are all about. It's what democratic organisations are all about. It's about coming together and shaping the policy and deciding a direction. You will never, whether it's at a university level or at a national level, please everyone on everything every time, and nor should you try to do so, because you'll try and be a jack of all positions, a jack of all trades and a master of none, and that's not. That sounded really kinky, and that's really not what we should be doing. So, as I said, bring the debate forward, have it here, have it nationally, and we'll. Oh God, you gave me so much grief last time as well. On the DUS rescheduling, if the US reschedules the debate with the same speakers, I dare say it will arouse the same controversy and the same level of people wanting to organise as anti-fascist campaigners and protest the BNP's presence. I can categorically tell you will not receive the same letter you received this time. And I think we'll have to have a very serious discussion with DSU and the Union Society and with members of the NUS executive about how to deal with it, because again, you know, these are people, particularly in those autonomous liberation campaigns, who have a mandate nationally to serve their members. But I think there must have been, and surely is, a much better way to handle these sorts of controversies and tensions than sending letters that, you know, incite kind of this kind of backlash. The final question, which was, I didn't catch the first name, but in terms of Andrew Chowdhury, I just want to explore what's kind of underlying your question, because it seemed there was a sort of an implicit suspicion that NUS would take a less firm line with people who, you know, incite some of the worst kinds of hatred and frankly violence, and that the NUS would somehow go soft on them because they do it by perverting the religion of Islam, and that's just not the case. Hizbut Tahrir is on the no platform policy. I want to see Anjem Chowdhury added to the NUS no platform policy at the next NUS conference as well, and I hope someone will bring forward that debate. As far as I'm concerned, you know, it doesn't matter whether you are a fascist acting in the name of white supremacy, or you're a fascist perverting the name of the faith of Islam. NUS needs to take a firm line against these people and call them out for what they stand for, because those people, just as Nick Griffin, they are very clever. When they come onto campuses, they will not say the stuff they say behind closed doors, but those people are at the forefront, not just of inciting hatred, but in the case of a number of people who try and organise on campuses, they incite terrorism and they incite violence as well.
Okay. Just so you all know, we're going to probably have to wrap up around 6:30, so I'm going to ask if you can keep your questions as concise as possible so we get through as many. Ben, have you got some from outside?
I've got two questions from outside that haven't been answered, I believe, yet. First one is this. Given this situation was caused by two semi-autonomous parts of the NUS, should NUS change its governance structures to make sure this will not happen again by removing that autonomy so they are accountable to all students? And the second one, how does Wales feel about the Human Rights Act of 1998, brought in by the Labour government, and in particular Article 10 about free speech?